Hi, it's Warren Huart here. Hope you're doing marvellously well today. We are going to be doing a song by Alaina Blair, who's an artist that I featured a few lessons ago with a song called Love It or Leave It. And that was like a country rock song that I played. This one is me playing piano, and the song is called All Comes Back Around. I originally wrote this song about 2 years ago with an artist called Leanna James, as you would say in America. And so it's the actual demo piano part that I played with a mono mic. And Alaina came in and sang on that, and then we created a band around it. So it's going to be an interesting song. It's a piano-based song, not a guitar-based song. It's quite a different one from some of the other songs. As usual, please subscribe. Go down there and subscribe. Go to producelikeapro.com and sign up for the email list, and you'll get a whole bunch of free goodies. There's drum samples, there's a Vimeo account with some videos on there, which are exclusive videos that you can only see if you sign up for the email list. And of course, there'll all be the competition details, etc., that we're always running. And please sign up for the email list. Okay, so let's get started. Here we are with the track, It All Comes Back Around. Okay, so let's start with the upright. Here it is. Talk about straightforward. It's just one low-level recorder, because this was done purely and simply as a demo. The original recording was just a scratch vocal and a demo piano. So here it is. As you can hear, it's just one mic. It was an AEA ribbon mic, which is basically an RCA ribbon mic. And it's just that going through a BAE 1073. No compression, low level. Like I said, it was done as a demo. We weren't even thinking about it. It was just generically pointed at the piano. So that's our piano sound, which runs through the whole song. Just the intro on its own.
There's a space between.
There's Alaina.
Like holding the universe, trying to find out what it means. Is love all we need? Or is it mixed with a little faded
Just a bass DI comes in here with some strings.
Don't know where it's.
Pretty compressed. I kind of like it though. A little dirty. It's supposed to be kind of a little 60s Motown-y meets, I don't know, very sort of Beatle-y at times. So we weren't going for hi-fi recording here. As you can see, I've got the C4 on there, which I use a lot. Scooped out some low mids. Well, some low mids at like 500. Do my usual compression of the super lows. And then there's another C4 on the bass master doing the same thing. Really controlling that low end. Our friend the REQ is doing a low roll off, and it's not super steep, but it's nice and gentle. Sort of 53 and below, just to leave some room for a kick. There's also a lot of top end boost just to kind of give it some personality. The usual 800, which is that kind of like, I like it on the precision. It's that kind of honky kind of, it gives the bass some attack. And then of course an RBass for some low lows. That's not being used. I probably experimented with it and turned it off. Some more mid boost. We have one at 800. This is one at 1760. And then our old friend MV2, just to really bring up those. Just keeps the note really constant. Cool. So, it's pretty compressed. It's pretty dirty sounding. It's not a refined bass tone, and it's just a DI.
fate and destiny. Don't know where it starts.
Strings
don't
coming
know
in
where
lightly.
it ends.
All that's really going on here is a gentle low roll off just to get out of the way of everything else. Here's what I like here. I'm using an imager. Now there's loads. This one's the waves one. There's widening plugins and all this kind of stuff. But what I like is I like to pan my strings, or in a lot of keys, I will pan them super wide. Somebody the other day talked to me about putting it on the mixed bus. I don't like to do that. I don't like to do it on my mixed bus. I think it messes with the phase and the polarity gets all messed up. And if a great mastering engineer wants to do an MS, a mid-size kind of ultra widening, I will let them do that. But that's up to them. For me, I just like to use widening plugins inside of a mix on certain instruments to give us more width. So here, and I do it a lot on keyboards. So here it is. Let's move it off. Bring it on. What I find with the widening plugins is they tend to take some of the top end high frequency stuff and throw it left and right, because that's where we hear width. Bass, when you're standing back a few feet from speakers, is very mono. You don't get an idea of the bass, the bottom, the low lows really coming out. They're sort of almost directionless. I mean, you could pan a bass left or right. Of course you can. You can pan a kick left or right, but the bottom end is always going to sort of feel like it's generically coming out somewhere in the middle-ish. It's hard to make bottom end feel, a slight movement. But if you take 3 to 5K and above and start moving that wider, you really start to hear the width. So that's the first thing I really noticed with this plugin. Listen to it. You hear the top end, the width. It seems to exaggerate and throw that out. So it's a nice plugin. The stereo image is great. Okay, so our usual tricks on the vocal, doing all the same stuff I usually do. I'm using, let's take a section here. I'm using an RBass.
I know where I've been, but I'm back to where I began. Find the reason, find the meaning.
I went to town a little bit on this because the vocal really has to sell this song. I've got a bit of a trim here just because, it came in pretty hot. And, we talk about this a lot. You don't want to send super hot clipping signals from one plugin to another, to another, to another. Quite often when you're listening to music and you're hearing that crunch and that distortion, it's because at all these different levels, these plugins have distorted. Even though when you hit your master bus, it might look all nice and pretty and it's not clipping. Well, inside of all of those hundreds of different plugins, there may be clipping going on. So I came out of the RVox and I went into my first plugin and I just felt like it was a little hot.
I know where I've been, but I'm back to where I began.
So then I have a vocal rider.
I know where I've been, but I'm back to where I began. Find the reason.
Now, I just did a video on Sunset Sound and we talked briefly about an engineer called Bruce Botnick. Bruce Botnick is a producer and engineer, now a mixer on film scores and stuff, and he arguably the best engineer, producer, mixer that America has ever had. His records are beautiful sounding. Listen to Forever Changes by Love, listen to any of the Doors records that he engineered and mixed. They sound amazing. He's the consistent thing through all of those records, whether there was different producers or not. It was always him engineering and mixing. And of course, he produced Forever Changes as well. And these records still sound amazing by today's standards. And he was quite well known, or is quite well known, for not using as much compression as we would. Nowadays, he did a lot more fader moves. So he would, and I tried to do that when I was doing the fray vocals, for instance. Isaac's a very dynamic singer. So what I would do is I would do small fader movements. I would take the lyric sheet and I would sit there and I would figure out where he always went super, super loud. And on my BAE here, I would click it down one, so the mic pre wasn't distorting, and I push up the volume on the output, and you end up sort of getting into this flow. So my long story is to say the vocal rider kind of does the same thing. We got some generic compression going on initially first with the RVox, but then we're going into this vocal rider, which is pulling down or pushing up the vocal. Have a look here.
There's a space
See, it's coming down,
between.
and then it's going up. So what it's doing is it's doing a Bruce Botnick. It's sitting there and it's riding the vocal. It's going, oh, it's a little loud here. Oh, I want to push it up a little bit. It's doing subtle movements, but it's more natural sounding because the VCAs in compressors have a sound, and sometimes you love those sounds. Like 1176s have a little bit of a crunch and attack. Love them. They are fantastic. My favorite compressor. Great on guitars, great on snare drums, great on vocals. Anything that wants that presence from 3 to 5K area that we love, that is amazing. However, if you're not trying to exaggerate all of those sounds, the Vocal Rider is a really good little plugin. And of course, sometimes I will naturally just draw these in myself. You can go through and automate all of the vocals. See here? So what I've done is I'm doing a Bruce Botnick. So you see all our vocal? I'm going to zoom in here. We'll make this jumbo size and look at my vocal. All across the whole vocal here. I am doing vocal rides because I'm mixing. So I'm pushing the vocal up. So it's hitting more evenly going into my lead vocal sub.
There's a space between.
There's all that beautiful little essence in her vocal there. You wouldn't get that generically with compressors. So it's a little bit of work, but it's worth it.
There's a space between. Like holding the universe, trying to find out what it means. Is love all we need?
Great. Okay, so, and then I'm doing all of my other vocal tricks. I've got a little bit of a distortion going on the vocal. You can hear there lightly.
There's a space.
I'm doing the Morphoda whisper. And I've got a low octave, which you can hear lightly in the background.
There's a space between.
And all of these things help the vocal sit out from the mix. Next up is all of my usual. I've got a dirty slap delay, which is quiet. I'll bring it up just for effect here.
There's a space between. Like holding the universe.
So that's a dirty, distorted delay. Slap. And then there's my vocal thickening trick, which you can go and watch on YouTube.
There's a space between, like holding the universe.
And then I've printed a couple of different fun effects here. You'll notice often I use a lot of effects. I use a lot of effects, but I don't use them like swamped all the time. I use like little things just to give the vocal some uniqueness, but quite often they're there, but there's not very much of them. So there's a plate there. It's printing softly. And a verb. So let's put the vocal in and let's have a listen to what we got.
Of where I'm going.
So as is typical with me, I am, if you go to volume, I'm riding the multi-effects in the choruses where it gets more dense and bringing them down the verses where it gets less dense. You also see here at the end of the vocal.
To know.
See there? It's just ridden gently at the end of the song so that the reverb tail isn't holding on too long. Sometimes I like the reverb tail holding on. You know, it can be like, it can be really tasty to end a song like that. But in this instance, it's a little bit more of an intimate song. You know, it's me sitting at an upright piano and Alaina singing with the bare minimum of stuff. Okay, cool. So there's your vocal, there's the strings. Now, when the chorus comes in, the only additions are a little Telecaster part, a little chimey Telecaster, and there's one almost pan far right, which is the natural one here, so we can just listen to that for a second. And then there's a duplication of it. You see it says tele-dupe, duped, pan the opposite way, and it's got our friend EchoBoy on it. It's a really, really short delay, 1/64th. So that just gives us width. So it's only one guitar, but it's creating width. It's creating stereo width in the guitar because we have one dry and one delayed. So obviously to make it work completely, that delay needs to be on 100% wet. And that gives us wide guitars. Great. Okay, so here's a whirly print. So it's just, this is on Logic. Stock Logic whirly print. It's just following the bass movement in the left hand of me playing the upper. There's even a mistake in the upright piano. Left it in. Like I said, this was the demo piano. It felt really good. You know, sometimes you just have to do that. Just take the demo and keep recording to it. You know, it's, if there was something special in the demo, which there was, you know, why not? Now, as far as production elements, here's a loop. Get a little crazy on the EQ there. It's a little modern sounding for me without the EQ in. So it's darkened up a bit. Nice 60 Hertz boost. Is that 80 actually? 79.2. Sounds like a radio station. 79.2. Anyway, so there's some boost there. There's a lot of cut in the high mids here, just to darken it up a little bit. Because, you know, like I said, this is trying to feel like a classic R&B or Motown song from the 60s. At least as close as I'm going to get it.
All we need.
So everything's a little darker.
Or is it mixed with
Simple string line, again from Logic.
one reason, one life, one chance to make.
Here's a little loop that comes in just on that second chorus, just to give it some movement. It's actually a little bit more of aggressive snare that comes, believe it or not. And on the last chorus, the only real major difference is this timpani loop comes in. And it's tuned to the bass line. Here we go. Cool. So that's just a timpani from Logic. Very simple, just following the bass line, just to frame the chord sequence. The guitar here is getting a little busier. Strings and whirly. And of course our upright. So even though the song has now got a lot of elements going on, the piano's still the dominant force driving it. You know, put everything in except for the vocal, and this is what we have. Still driven by the piano. Even that aggressive snare, it's there, but it's not dominating the song. Because ultimately, this song is about the piano and the vocal working together. Okay, great. There'll be links and stuff where you can go and hear the song. The album is now out, so it's easily available. So there's links so you can hear it in more detail. But that's essentially, you see, very simple production. Again, it was about building the song around the piano and the vocal. So thank you ever so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As ever, please subscribe. Go to producelikeapro.com and sign up for the email list. You'll get loads of free goodies, some behind the scenes footage, and obviously details on competitions and all that kind of fun stuff. I've been judging a mix competition, and I'm sure I'll be judging another mix competition at any time you're watching this. It's overwhelmingly amazing. I cannot believe the quality of the mixes I'm getting. You guys are and girls are incredibly talented, and I'm so happy to be involved in this, and I really want to encourage it because there's a lot of talent out there. Of the several hundred mixes I got, so many of them are top level mixes. So great work, great work. Keep it up. Please hit us with questions and comments, and I'd love to give you my experiences and, of course, share amongst yourselves. This is a really enjoyable process for me. So thank you ever so much. Now, with Alaina here, I'm so thankful that she wanted to do the song that I wrote with a different artist. For me, it's all about the piano. As you can tell in the mix, the piano is still the featured instrument, and the other stuff comes around to kind of bolster, the choruses and help the melody come through. But it is a piano vocal song. I've been truly blessed to work with some of the finest piano vocal artists. Obviously I worked with Frey on their first 2 albums. Brendan James on his second album. These are great piano vocalists. And to me, it's always going to be a classic instrument, the piano or an acoustic guitar, because you can sit down the piano or you can play an acoustic guitar and you can write a song. No matter what genres come in and out of fashion, for a couple of years, whether it be EDM at the moment or, rap rock or emo or whatever we're going through at the moment, that remains a constant. And the fact that you can go and see an artist sit down at a gig playing a piano or playing an acoustic guitar, and it makes your hair stand on end if they really nail it and they bring the passion that you want to hear. That's something that cannot be reproduced by playing a track. So I love being able to record music like this. I also love being able to record music that has dance elements and rock elements as well. But this is a little passion of mine, so I'm very glad that you watched, and please subscribe, go to producelikeapro.com, and please leave all your questions and comments below, and let's talk about recording and production. Thank you ever so much.